Welcome to Inside Builder channel. Introducing Composio tools, the Agentic LLMs API Gateway, part 6 of multi-part series video. We are going to see how to gain insights on Composio tools and apps with webhooks. The question here is how to see what is entering your Composio space. What is entering into your Composio's account. If you want to learn why your triggers are not delivering, if your agent, which is not writing to the files, what's actually happening to that agent, why it is not doing it. The workspace seems to be acting strange. You are trying to get the code written to the workspace, but it's not writing it. And you are wondering why is this happening, and you want a holistic detail on what is getting called inside the Composio workspace, that is the workspace account that you are having in Composio, and you want to control it. Okay, and you want to understand and you want to have dashboard like this, but you want it in your own, for your own applications, agents, and the tools that you are deploying. Can you do that? Yep, you can do it. And to do that, you will be needing something called as webhooks. Well, what is a webhook? Webhook, in layman terms, it is an endpoint, meaning a server endpoint that is used by an application to send HTTP request. Again, regularly, when you are going to work with a server, the server is interacted by the user. So for an example, if I have the Composio dashboard, this is a server, and I am the user, I am trying to access this dashboard using mouse and keyboard. However, if I want Composio as an application to connect with the server automatically, then we call it as webhooks. Servers and applications are talking with each other without you in the middle. So it's an automation process. Well, what are the benefits? So what are the types of insights you can get? First and foremost, there are three main insights you can get from the webhooks body. So you can get the body type field, that is what is the event type. You can get the application details with which the webhook is attached, and you can get the integration information on which name the event or the webhook was called. All these three things you can get it. But there is more. With all this information, you can understand the user onboarding through the integrations. You can enhance your user experience because you are able to see what the users are doing from the backend, right? You can proactively troubleshoot. And finally, you can get lifetime updates on the events step by step. Let me show you what I mean, and then we can actually go forward. I already have a webhook server running inside Railway app. I'll be showing you how this Railway app works in a couple of seconds, and how the app is written. It's pretty simple. The point is, this particular server has been deployed by me from this GitHub repo, and I am connecting this server. You see this link here. This link has been updated in the dashboard, in Composio dashboard, in settings, inside event and triggers. You can see that I have updated the link here with this webhook endpoint. You can see that here, right? Again, here I have told I need to use the new webhook payload. So there's a reason for that. And here also I updated the same webhook. You don't need to have different webhooks for admin and trigger. I have used the same. If you want, you can have any number of webhook different. You can have webhook 1 and webhook 2, and you can implement the endpoints in your receiver server. So you can change that. So here I have only one webhook endpoint which is going to do both the work. Okay, what kind of work? Right. So here you see there has been a couple of post requests that is coming through. Right. Let me zoom in a bit so you guys can see it better. So you can see the webhook, right? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my dashboard, and I'm going to get into the apps, into the integrations, and I'm going to do one activity. I'm going to disable this authentication. let me remove this and put it on the side so that you guys can see what is happening. Okay, so we have an issue with the Composio guys. Anyway, let us not do that. Let me actually do something else. Let me deactivate the agent 21. Okay, the moment I deactivate this, and if I go back to here, you can see that a new webhook post request happens. Just a minute, it's refreshing, and you can see there is a new webhook post request that has happened by 1539. So let me open that, and you can see that the details of the webhook is updating, but it's not giving me a lot of information, right? But if you go to deployment logs, which is also going to have the payload, will have a lot of information. So here you can see that the connected account has been disabled, first thing, and you can see that what is the timestamp. Okay, the timestamp here, what you're seeing is different from the timestamp that I am working on. So this timestamp is in the timestamp of the server, right? The server is deployed in a different location, so that server's timestamp is coming, but my timestamp is here. And this timestamp matches with the trigger timestamp, right? And then we have the entity ID. So here it is disabled, and we have the integration ID. Now let us go back and let us enable this. So again, agent 21, I am enabling it. And now if you give it a second, another one activity will happen, another one post request will happen. And you saw that post request came in front of you. So there was an update, and you can see the account is enabled and the timestamp is updated. Agent 21 has been enabled right now. This is what I'm talking about. And you have all this information in your server, in your hand, because this server is running using my code, correct? The code that I'm executing using this application. Now, the point I want to make here is that the entire JSON data that you are seeing, the payload is coming from the Composio account. Okay, the Composio server. It is coming from Composio server from your account. Okay, so whatever is happening in your account is captured and it is posted to this server. So that is what is happening. Posted to this server. Okay, the server has been closed. Yeah, it's here. It is posted to this server through the webhook. That is how it is working. So that's what I was talking about. And moreover, as you saw, when an event is enabled or disabled, when an integration is triggered, or when the application is called, you will get all the information. So for an example, let us actually take a look at this area. I already have a trigger that is active for me under agent 21. Okay, there is a trigger already active, and this trigger is something that I am going to work with right now. So this is a Gmail trigger that I have, and this is the YouTube, this is the Gmail I'll be working with. So if I use this particular Gmail and if I send a mail, what will happen is it will actually create a trigger, because that trigger has been linked with your Composio account, and it is also linked with the webhook right now. So what will happen is once the trigger gets started, you will see the new payload coming in this area also. So what will happen is, it's not just that the Composio server is only looking at your Composio server is only looking at what is happening. You can also look at what is happening from your code. So that is really powerful. So it's taking a moment because the trigger takes a couple of seconds to enable. So let us go back. I will come back to this a little later. Let us now look at what exactly happens, what it takes. So to set up this kind of a webhook, it takes a server with post endpoint. It has to be hosted, the server has to be hosted on a public facing server. So the server here is the server application or the server code. Okay, just to make it a little more explicit, the server code is the Flask server code that I'll be showing you in a couple of minutes. This Flask server code has to be hosted on a public facing server, meaning like the web server that you place your application upon. So that's what I'm talking about as server here. And the ability to see the deploy logs. So if I go back, you should be able to see the deploy logs. You see that now by 8:20, I had created a type of trigger, that is Gmail, new Gmail message, and it has happened at this time, and it has got all the information regarding that. Thread ID, it has got the information regarding the authentication result, everything that you need to know about that particular trigger. So from where it came, to whom it went, every information is available as JSON to you. And you can take all this information and you can process it at your end. Right, so this is what I'm talking about, and this is the deploy logs that you are seeing. Now let us look at the picture a bit more clearly. Right, so you have the Composio, this is your account, or this is the Composio server that is present in this location. Let me close this. This is the Composio server, this is your dashboard, right? And here in the Composio server or the dashboard, the apps are connected like Gmail, GitHub, whatever it is. And in the Composio server, you have both administration process as well as user and app level process, correct? Like triggers and logs. You have admin process like authentication, creating the user account, etc., entity, etc. These two are interacting with Composio, right? But whatever the users are doing with the admin, user, with the applications, etc., the Composio dashboard is seeing, but what if you also want to see? So in order to do that, Composio provides the hook, the webhook, right? And you can write a web server. So this web server, this side is written by you. So you write a web server, you give it a hook or the endpoint on which the Composio server can connect with and feed the data or post the data. And using the web server, you can create your own dashboards. Right, so these dashboards can be helpful for you to get these insights, right? These types of insights. Now, this is the entire purpose of webhooks, right? By doing all these things, you will be able to understand if there is any problem with the triggers, if the trigger is actually getting triggered, but it's not triggering your agent, if your workspace is not working properly, you will be able to get it to know in your dashboard. So this is the overall setup that I wanted to discuss about. Now, how to do this? How to actually create this kind of webhook? The Composio documentation provides a very simple process. They show to create a Flask application by using this code here. You can just copy paste this and you can create a new GitHub repo. That's very important. You need to create a new GitHub repo. Okay, and create the receiver.py. You can actually name it as server.py also, it's your call, but ensure that you also create a requirements.txt which contains just only one package, that is Flask. Okay, and after this it's pretty simple. So you have to create a virtual environment and run this and test this app. When you are going to test this app locally, so let me show you. When you are going to test this app locally, what will happen is, just a minute. I just had to shift to the different folder. I am going to enable, I already have a virtual environment installed here. You can see that I have a virtual environment. I am going to source the virtual environment using this alias. Now I am in the virtual environment with the Flask installed. Right, and I have to just call Python receiver.py, and the receiver.py contains this code, right? Nothing else. I have not changed anything, and this code has got the payload that comes from Composio. So keep this in mind. This entire the receiver.py gets the payload from the Composio dashboard, from your account especially. Okay, and when I execute this locally, That is, if I am going to execute it on your local machine, which is running inside your local LAN, you will not be able to connect to Composio. Okay, this is running on your local network, so Composio will not be able to connect back. So you have to deploy this to any of the public facing web servers. So if you have a web server already available, then you can use it, or else you can use railway.app and you can deploy the web server. So deployment of railway app web servers, there are lots of videos available. One thing that you need to remember is, in order to deploy in the railway app, you need two things. One is the requirements.txt, I told you, and the second thing is a proc file. So this proc file contains the web colon, and you need to just call this Python receiver.py and ensure that in the receiver.py you should have the port as 5000 and the host should be 0.0.0.0. This ensures that your server can be reached irrespective of whichever IP it is running inside the railway app server. You don't need to worry too much about that, just follow this set of configuration, that's it. And after that, you will be able to get the payload from Composio to this area. And after that, you can start printing, you can start creating dashboards, you can have any number of additional, or you can actually take and make your own databases and connect with it and do a lot of stuff. Yeah, if you want, you can actually have another agent that is going to work through all these Composio tools and give you a lot of natural language based updates. So well, now you're seeing that you can do a lot more once you understand this architecture, right? So you saw that how the web server is created with a single webhook endpoint, and how the hook gets the payload, and then you can work on creating your dashboard. In our case, the dashboard was a very simple print statements. Again, I'm repeating this. The idea here is that you have to update the dashboard, or if you want additional processing to be done on the payload, you need to update it under this webhook function, and this webhook function is linked with this webhook endpoint. You can see this here, right? And this is the endpoint with which the dashboard is connected. So if you come back here, Composio's dashboard is connected. I am repeating it. You can see that I am connecting here. So this is how it is linked. Yeah, you can have any number of webhooks, but you can only give two webhook links to Composio account. One is for admin and another is for your trigger webhook. So only two you can give. So plan it accordingly. I have used the same thing. At the end of the day, you need to take the payload, and once you have the payload in your hand, you can actually do any number of Python related processes, and you can segregate the data and you can then work on it. So you don't need to really have multiple webhooks. One webhook link can work with both the admin as well as trigger webhook. So it's not that difficult. At the end of the day, Python logic will take care of the rest of the things. So I believe that in this video you got some good idea on how the entire gaining insights from Composio works, and also how you got an overview of how multiple servers can interact with each other, and also how to ensure that your users, people who are using your agents, your tools, are served properly and are given proactive and personalized experience. So I believe that this video is helpful. Do leave me a comment and do subscribe to my channel for further updates on similar kind of videos. With that said, I would like to leave this video with 4 words, that is practice, practice, explore, explore. See you guys. Have a great time.